What a pleasure, sir. I can see my honorable founder president, sir, on screen. Such a great pleasure. Namaskar. Just awaiting my honorable chancellor, sir, also on screen, and we begin.
Sharma ji, I'm here with founder president.
What a pleasure, sir. What a pleasure to see you, sir.
Ji,
So nice to have you, sir.
नमस्ते नमस्ते अच्छा नमस्ते भाई साहब नमस्ते कैसे हैं
Today,
आप
a great day for my life. Your presence, my most worthy brother and honorable Nobel laureate Kailash Satyarthi Bhai. God has sent you on this earth to change the world, and I'm seeing you what you're doing. Nobody could have done. Your dedication, your sincerity. We are following your path, and at our MIT University, Haryana, we have established a center, Kailash Satyarthi Center for Child Development. In each of our university, we need your guidance. Sir, we are your soldiers. 1,70,000 students and 5,000, 6,000 faculty members are your soldiers. We are with you. Few months back, I met you in Singapore in the aeroplane, and I was going to the convocation of my university there, and you were invited as a chief guest and speech in a very renowned university at Singapore. So people need you not only in India, but all over the world. Why they adore you, and we welcome you today. I'm so excited to hear you. I'll come back again for a few minutes in the end.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure and honor to be with all of you today, and especially with the young friends who are listening to me. So you can always consider me as the part of MIT family as you do, and I do. So it will go on. Thank you so much.
That's great. We shall begin now formally. In now that all our eminent panelists are here. Namaskar. Warm greetings from Amity University, Haryana. It's a great day today as the nation celebrates the Technology Day. As Buddha smiled on this day, 11th of May 1998, when India became the proud member of the elite nuclear club of the world. But ladies and gentlemen, today is also the day to remind ourselves that the power of guns and power of missiles, even the power of nuclear bombs, are no match to the power of microbes and the might of microbial kingdom. A small advent of coronavirus outbreak has caused worldwide global pandemic and forced us to rethink on our strategy to create a secure future for the mankind. We in India stand for world peace and for a compassionate humanity that is in line with our age-old Vedic civilization that laid a great emphasis on peace, on harmony with nature, and on oneness of humanity, as in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam enshrined in our Vedas. Today, on this momentous occasion, when we celebrate the Technology Day for our great nation, we have with us one of the most illustrious sons of Mother India, namely Nobel Peace Laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji, to address us on his vision of a compassionate humanity and protection of child rights. Nobel Peace Laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji, a very warm welcome to you, and we thank you for sparing your highly valuable time to be with us on this momentous occasion. However, before I invite the Honorable Nobel Laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji to deliver his eminent address, may I take this opportunity to extend a very warm welcome to our founder president, Honorable Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan Ji, for whom Amity is a mission to make India a superpower by 2030, for whom education is an empowerment for charting a bright future for the mankind, and for whom research and innovation is a passion. Under the visionary leadership of Honorable Founder President, Sir, Amity Education Group, within a short span of less than 2 decades, has emerged as world's largest education group, currently enrolling over 170,000 students in 11 Amity universities within the country, here in India, and 17 Amity campuses abroad. Founder President, sir, at Amity University, Haryana, as you know, under your visionary guidance, we have established Kailash Satyarthi Center for Child Rights and Development. Under this center, in collaboration with Nobel laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji Foundation, we have mounted a number of initiatives that include open elective courses, a master's program of LLM in child rights, and PhD level research in areas of high social relevance for the global humanity. The Kailash Satyarthi Foundation is also providing immersion to our inspired students and scholars in their live projects and case studies, which will immensely benefit our students and scholars. Founder President, sir, under your gracious presence at this momentous occasion, along with Honorable Chancellor Dr. Sib Chauhanji, it is a matter of great pride and honor for all of us to have you on this momentous occasion when we celebrate the Technology Day, greet and warmly welcome the scientific and technology community of our great country, and have the privilege of hearing the Nobel Peace Laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji on his vision for a compassionate humanity, that we have the privilege of having your words of wisdom right at the start of this highly important Amity eminent webinar today. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, may I take this opportunity to invite the Honorable Founder President to benefit us by his words of wisdom on this momentous occasion. Over to you, Honorable Founder President, sir.
Professor Sharma, we have heard a few introductory valuable thoughts from Founder President, sir. And he is also very keen to listen to the words of Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji. So he will first listen to the deliberations from our Honorable Nobel Laureate. And then at the end, our Founder President will come back to share some valuable thoughts.
That's really great, sir. Honorable Chancellor, sir, thank you so much indeed. Let me therefore take this opportunity without losing any time to invite the Honorable Nobel Peace Laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji. A few words in the honor of Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji, the pride of humanity and one of the most illustrious sons of Mother India, Nobel Peace Laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji is a living legend, an apostle of compassionate humanity, and a global champion of the protection of child rights. A highly impactful global leader, Sri Kailash Satyarthi was born in the historic town of Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh, where he imbibed the Vedic sanskaras of righteous living, humility, compassion, and peaceful struggle for the protection of human rights. A postgraduate in engineering from SATI Vidisha, Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji soon realized that his mission of life is to eradicate child labor and to give dignity to millions of children around the globe. Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji had dedicated his entire life to the pursuit of equality and to create an egalitarian society. Gifted with a sense of selflessness and unrelenting service to humanity, Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji is the recipient of numerous awards and recognition that include Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights Award USA, the International Peace Prize Germany, Golden Flag Award Holland, La Hospitality Award Spain, Heroes Acting to End Modern Day Slavery USA, Medal of Italian Senate, to name a few. In 2014, Sri Kailash Satyarthi was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his commitment to creating a compassionate humanity and for promoting peace and unity among the people of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great respect and full honor that Amity University Gurugram presents the Nobel Peace Laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji to deliver the eminent webinar lecture on his vision of a compassionate humanity and protection of child rights. With these words, may I request the Honorable Nobel Laureate of Peace Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji to deliver his eminent webinar on the topic which he has chosen to address on this very important day. Over to you, Nobel Laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi Ji.
Namaste. Respected Brother Ashokji, respected Asimji, respected Dr. Sharma, dear sisters and brothers. This is my immense pleasure and honor to be with you today as the first speaker of the Eminent Speaker series. And you have chosen a great day for any engineer, and I'm one of them, and that is the Technology Day. So it brings me closer to this topic and closer to this day. Thanks for the association and our cooperation between the Kailash Satyarthi Children's Foundation and MIT. As we all know that the world is facing the deep crisis, uncertainty, and fear, which perhaps have never seen in the history. However, many more people were killed in catastrophes and wars before, but due to the media and the outreach of information and knowledge in the remotest parts of the world, everybody knows that there is a serious danger on each one of them. It could be the poorest of the poor, it could be the richest of the rich. I would like to begin with the Ved mantra. When the fear is looming at large on the entire humankind, thousands of years ago, the Vedas Rishi gave a great formula. Thousands of mantras, thousands of formulas, but I wanted to begin with one. Abhayam mitrad bhayam, amitrad bhayam, jatad bhayam parokshat. Abhayam naktad bhayam divanah, sarva asha mam mitram bhavantu. It has a beautiful meaning. May we not be afraid of our friends and foes. May we not have any fear from the day and the night. May we be afraid of the known fears as well as unknown. And if we pray for that and we take a resolve to be free from these fears, then the answer is also lying in the second line, the last line or last sentence of this mantra, this Richa. And it says, Sarva Asha Mama Mitram Bhavantu. All the directions, east and west and north and south, and all the hopes and desires become friendly to us. So if we really wanted to get rid of any fear, known and unknown, then the answer lies in connectivity, unity, and the real friendship. Friendship with everyone, friendship everywhere. So today, we need much more solidarity, much more sense of oneness, and much more unity than ever before. Such catastrophes come and go, but whenever the humanity has shown and has proven its friendship and unity, the humanity has emerged stronger and brighter than ever before. The latest example was the World War. We have seen that how disastrous was it, but everybody realized that we cannot solve this problem in isolation. We have to find some solution through unity, and as a result, the United Nations Organization, UNO, has been established with all its wings and all its programs like UNICEF and ILO and UNDP, World Bank. So today is the call for unity. Having said that, I would like to start with the situation the most marginalized people in the world are facing. Every day when we switch on our television or we open any newspaper's page, we are depressed by reading so many news. But today, I read that 5 migrant workers were returning and they were hit by a truck and they all died. A couple of days ago, there was a disturbing accident, and I have seen some of the photographs of it on the railway track when some workers were returning. They were desperate to go back to home out of fear, out of uncertainty of their livelihoods in the place where they were working. They ran over by a train. And the most disturbing photo was that perhaps there was some hair or cluster of fingers. They might have left their sons and daughters, their parents, their wives in search of that roti, that bread. But when they died on the railway track, they were trying to still hold that roti full of blood. I saw the tears in the eyes of those who were removing those pieces of their bodies. 2 weeks ago, there was a girl named Jamalo. She was about 14 or 15-year-old. She was returning on feet. She already covered almost 150 kilometers from Andhra Pradesh or Telangana to reach her village. And just an hour short of her journey, she fell down and died on the road. Doctors revealed that she was hungry. She was thirsty. In all her walk, she could not earn a piece of bread. This is the situation of many children in the world. I work with thousands of organizations across the globe, and I am getting information from many corners that the number of child laborers in the world will grow. The most marginalized people are becoming more and more marginalized. The vulnerable sections in the society are facing the biggest threat and danger in their lives now, and maybe in the post-coronavirus period, they would still be facing worst problem. 300 million children, school-going children in about 70 countries or more, were highly depending. In fact, their families were highly depending on conditional cash transfer and school feeding. Now, since the schools are closed and the school feeding programs are closed, in some places, in some countries, including India, the governments are trying to reach out to those people and transferring some money to their parents, but it is not enough. So hundreds of millions of these young children are left out. Their families are left out without any conditional cash transfer because it is linked with their school attendance, and that is not happening. So this is the situation of children and child rights. In the future, I am afraid that the new normals, these children will still gain the priority. Of course, the priorities would be health, definitely. The priorities would be income generation. Priorities would be employment generation. Priorities would be different. And hundreds of millions of people who were migrant workers, indigenous people, people facing with disabilities, people with ethnical minorities, people on move or children on move. For example, the refugee children or refugee families, they are supposed to face much more prices, much more price of it. They have to pay much more price because they would not be in the priority of the new norm or new normal of development. Priorities would be different. Donor countries, the rich countries are also facing problems. Europe is facing problems, so perhaps the refugees living in other parts of the world may not be their priority. So in these situations, these are those depressing situations, but it does not mean that that the humanity does not have that power to revive. Humanity will revive. But we have to think differently. When there is a full stop, we can think and find new solutions, new ways. When we all suffer the same problem, then we can convert our fear and a kind of sense of oneness in a positive manner, and that is possible through globalizing compassion. Dear sisters and brothers, when I talk of compassion, I'm not talking of pity, I'm not talking of mercy. I am talking about a divine gift everybody is born with. So God has given us so many things. For me, the most precious gift is compassion. When we feel the suffering of others, we we are good people because we are sympathetic.
There seems to be a temporary loss of connectivity from the Honorable Laureate Kailash Satyarthi side. But the two very important points which Nobel Laureate has made, that when the whole humanity is united for a common cause, we emerge out far more stronger than we would be in a distributed mode. And therefore, during the COVID lockdown around the world, the whole humanity must realize with greater sincerity the sense of oneness which will create a humanity far more stronger and committed to the welfare of one and all. Another very important point which Kailash Satyarthi ji has made, that the most marginalized ones must be in our focus, and we should always be asking ourselves what can be done to benefit the most marginalized sections of our community. He was conscious of the fact that almost 300 million children around the world are vulnerable. And therefore, it's very important for each one of us to think about those children whose life and whose livelihood, in fact, could be made much better by our strategic interventions. A compassionate humanity requires a strategic and committed actions with conviction of one and all, no one is spared. And therefore, in this very important webinar, it's very important when we return back to new normals after the COVID unlockdown, we need to rethink and reboot our strategic framework of national economy and developmental strategies to see how best we can go about to see that no one is left behind, and especially the interest of the children and interest of the most marginalized one is taken care of. It is this very important aspect which has been placed before us by Nobel laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi. And I'm indeed very happy that 2,680 registrations were there for this very important webinar, and hundreds and thousands of them are connected at the moment live to hear the golden words of the Nobel laureate sir. In the meantime, before Nobel laureate sir comes on the screen, may I ask the Honorable Founder President to say a few words of wisdom to enlighten us on his views, how to go about addressing the serious challenge of the most marginalized ones in our society. Founder President,
Dr. P. Sharma ji, first of all, my great compliment and appreciation for your hard work, and all from your MIT University Haryana under the leadership and guidance of worthy Chancellor Dr. C. Chauhan ji. To manage this webinar from Honorable Sri Kailash Satyarthi ji is a mammoth job, because we wanted that a large number of people hear him from all over the world, and you very well succeeded. You must be eventually seeing that our most worthy Dr. Amita Chauhan ji have also joined.
Yes, yes, I can see.
She's sitting near me, and when Dr. Kailash Satyarthi ji is online, you can tell that she all came running when she heard that Kailash Satyarthi is speaking and joined his speech, because she also has a very good bonding with him and with our whole family, not from today, maybe from many, many decades, many decades. And I'm sure that all those who will hear this session would benefit from that. I always say to all my MITians, all people, those who take part in sessions, that every crisis brings opportunity, brings new ideas, brings new learning. So what we are doing day and night, all at MIT, the crisis is being fought by our country. We will win very soon COVID-19, but then we will be post-era COVID-19. Now, we 135 crore people, 135 crore people are thinking what, in which way to make best use of the learnings. One thing I should tell to all those who are present here, I always believe that our country, India, will be world superpower, global superpower. But this crisis has shown me and all my MIT colleagues that we will be earlier global superpower than we were envisaging, because we have shown to the whole world that our people, our leader, our politician, our citizens have the capacity and capability to show cause the whole world that the creativity, the dedication, the discipline of 135 crore people can surpass any other nation. And this is a big learning. I think nobody will have a doubt now, after seeing the way we are trying to win COVID, that we would be a global superpower. But for that, we have to make ourselves more strong, because the strength of a nation is very important. And each citizen should work in the direction of science, technology, innovation. Our biggest strength is, Dr. P. Sharma, our values and sanskars.
Sure, sir.
Not available anywhere in the world.
Right, India is stronger, as Honorable Founder President says, on the strength of the sanskaras and the values which commit us not only for peace, for Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya. And I'm very happy that Honorable Nobel Laureate is back with us. So over to you, Honorable Nobel Laureate. Let's carry on further. So have your words of wisdom.
Amita ji has also joined. Amita Chauhan ji has also
And
joined.
I'm very happy that Madam Chairperson has joined us on this momentous occasion. A very warm A greeting to you, Madam Chairperson, from Amity University, Haryana, and from all the viewers who are connected to this eminent webinar. Namaste.
Great. Great.
Over
And
to
Sharmaji,
you.
all the families, children have also come. All
Yes,
the
I could see. I could see them. I could see
including the
my.
youngest prince, who is now 2 months old. He's also here.
Oh God!
Oh, wow.
What a pleasure! They are the future. Our children are the future, in fact, and we are here to empower them, to support them, and we are unconditionally committed to create this compassionate world, which is the vision of our Nobel laureate, Sri Kailash Satyarthi. Over to you, Kailash Satyarthi. Please take it forward.
Great.
So could you please tell where was that disruption came? Because I kept on talking, I didn't know what has happened at what place. Can you remember a little bit so that I can continue?
Your microphone need to be switched on, I think, from your side.
Sir, you were telling about the misfortune of the 300 million children and what they are facing due to the COVID.
Was I talking about that all religions were born out of compassion?
Correct. Very right.
Over to you, Nobel laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi ji.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can.
Hello? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. So, so our children who are most vulnerable across the globe are facing serious problems, and I'm afraid that in the post-coronavirus era, they would not gain the priority. So perhaps their education, their midday meal activities, their health will definitely be prioritized. But the other things in the development sector would have to be, I would say, rearranged in that way. And such reports are coming from all United Nations agencies that the commitment made through the Sustainable Development Goals would also be hampered, and the priority would be income generation or employment and job creation and the revival of economy than anything else. So one has to wait for years. So this is the scenario. And then in that situation, I was trying to push for better alternatives. When we all face the same problem, and we also started realizing that no nation can solve this catastrophe or this pandemic in isolation. We have to work together and we have to find the collective solution. And that collectivity can come only through the compassion. So how can we convert the collective fear and the sense of oneness and interdependence as a deeper sense of universal responsibility and compassion? And I always believe that compassion is not simply empathy or empathy. Empathy is the outer circle when you feel the suffering of others. And that is nice, that's good. But that is perhaps not be able to solve the problem of someone who is suffering. Then comes empathy, which is a deeper circle. And empathy is the feeling for the suffering of others as your own suffering. And that makes you a better human being. And that connect is a deeper connect. But the core lies in compassion, which is the best thing. And that means when you start feeling the suffering of unknown and known, suffering of others as your own pain and suffering, with a desire and drive to overcome, desire to take action to solve that suffering, then the true human being is born inside you. Then the divinity is manifested through a human being, because this compassion is a divine gift God has given to each one of us. Sometimes what we do, we keep it narrow, we shrink it, we make inner circles to protect it, thinking that it's such a precise thing, we can confine it to our own siblings, we can confine it to our own biological children or our nearest and dearest. But God can never be so meager. God has given this gift, then it should be enormous, it should be unlimited, it should be huge. So we are born with the ocean of compassion. And whenever some people felt and evoked that suffering from inside, created religions. So all the religions in the world and all the revolutions, all the social transformation revolutions are born out of compassion. When somebody started feeling the suffering of others, the methods could be different, the approaches could be different, but the core is the compassion that connects one to another. And that is not just human beings. Our connect of compassion must be with the entire universe. That means with rivers and waters, with mountains and trees and jungles, with animals and birds, with everyone. Because if they are facing the problem, then we cannot live in peace. We cannot make a sustainable world. The sustainability and peace of humankind comes through that deeper connect of compassion. And this is a great time. This is a great opportunity we can definitely embark upon. So, this is the way to create a better humanity, better future of mind using this opportunity. We have to think that being Indians who had thousands of years of civilization, thousands of years of learning from our Vedic rishis and from all the great people, human beings, we can be the problem solver. I can strongly feel that in DNA, we have that capacity as the problem solver and leader. Because when you feel the suffering of others and act to overcome that suffering, that gives you an opportunity to show your leadership. You cannot do it without taking action. And take action, one has to be quite strategic. One has to have better planning. One has to have courage to jump into that situation of problem. One has to be the problem solver and leader. So we can be a great leader through compassion. We have seen the results of the globalization of market and economy, technology, knowledge, production, everything. And we have also seen bright side of it as well as the dark side, the flip side of this globalized world. That's why I call for the globalization. So the universalization of responsibility, mutual responsibility, beginning with our own, in our own family, among our own friends. And then we expand that circle, take the inner circles which we have created to protect this gift. We should shine ourselves and we shine the world through that gift of compassion God has given to us. But that cannot remain just teaching. Good actions are needed. When you see the light of compassion and wanted to continue it, sustain it, then we have to. It's like a diya, it's like a lamp, a burning lamp. In a mud diya, on a mud pot, there is a night oil which burns, and there is a wick that burns, and then the flame is created, and then the spark, that light is created in the world, the light of compassion. So the light of compassion also comes out of night oil, that is gratitude. So we have to learn to be grateful to each other. When I am sitting here and talking to all of you, I am grateful to you. I am extremely grateful to Ashok Bhai and his family. Bhaviji is also here. I am grateful to you, Bhai Sahib, Sharmaji. And I am grateful to this person who is helping me in connecting with you through technological support on your team as well as here. I'm grateful to those who have built this house. I am sitting here safely, but that safety comes out of those masons who have built that house. Not only masons, but those who painted it and made it beautiful. The chair I am sitting on, the carpenter, the electrician, the plumber. So not only the carpenter and plumber, but wherever these electrical appliances have been made and the people have worked to make it, them. I can feel that sense of gratefulness, the sense of gratitude to those in the safety home, sitting safe at home. When I am having a glass of water, somebody has brought me that glass of water. I had my lunch this afternoon. So it is not that the cook who had offered me that lunch, but there is a whole long chain, would call it the supply chain of gratitude. It goes down and down and down and reaches to that farmer is producing wheat and dal, pearls, and milk, and all kinds of spices, masalas, and those who transport it to us. So they are responsible for my existence, for my being, to satisfy my hunger and my safety. Similarly, I'm wearing this kurta, but it is not just me who is responsible, or my wife Sumedha ji who bought this kurta for me. I'm thankful to her, but I'm equally thankful, perhaps more thankful to the tailor, and then the designer, and then the spinner, and the cotton producer, and everyone. So if we learn to be grateful to others, then we will not develop that sense of ahankar, that sense of uh, proud or ego. So we have to get rid of ego, and that is through practicing gratitude, which is simple way to practice. And then I said that the bati, that wick, is the loving kindness. So kindness is a is a feeling of concern for others. It's it's a feeling to help or to do something. Even when you smile to someone and feel that someone is with you, and when you start loving that person, the loving kindness is deeper than the giving kindness. Sometimes the giving kindness or mercy turns into ego. When you feel that you are a donor, you are giving someone to someone, that giving kindness makes you proud inside, and then you are disconnected with the godliness which we are all part of. So, gratitude and loving kindness will help in maintaining that flame, the burning flame of compassion in our lives, and that we can do. So, everybody can try in his or her own way. As I always say, that children who are facing the problem today and the children who will face the problem in the future are our children. They are all our children. They are all our children. We have to feel for them as we feel for us. They may be in Sudan, they may be in Pakistan, they may be in India, they may be in Africa, Latin America, they may be in Europe, or even in the United States of America. In America, one of the 6 children are not able to get enough food every day. These are the reports from the government and from other non-governmental United States. The children of this country are facing that. So they are all our children. We have to solve their problems collectively. And the future lies continuing their education, continuing the education which brings the humanity and ethics, the values as a human being, survival of humankind, or sustainability of society and the world also rest in the sense of oneness, is now being imposed on us, but that should be a kind of blessing in disguise, and we can work on it. I'm thankful to everyone, these words, and I can sum up with 3 things: that all children are our children. We have to have that sense. We have to connect with everyone, every human being, every animal and bird and nature with a deep sense of compassion. And to maintain, to sustain that compassion, we have to learn how to be grateful to each other and how to be kind and practice the loving kindness. Eventually, the world would be a better place. Finally, I would say that each time when we make some policy, I have been talking to government. I am in contact with dozens of Nobel laureates. Almost every day, I am in contact with one or other minister or former prime ministers, president.
Thank you so much, Nobel laureate sir. You have raised a very important issue. The godliness in each one of us must enable us to connect with each other, with empathy, with atmita, and that alone can, in fact, assure the humanity to grow on the pathways of compassionate humanity which we all desire to go. Let me say this with conviction that Amity stands for unmatched atmita. Amity stands for eternal connect between the people to people, with each one of us, with the whole humanity, and with this commitment to eternal atmita with which we are nurturing education in our universities, Amity universities, within the country and abroad. You have been greatly connected with Education for All mission of UNESCO, and I'm sure this is something very important today to create the compassionate humanity. What should we do in education system now to sensitize our students, our teachers, and their parents and society at large so that compassion finds a much better place in our agenda as against our lust and greed and our careers? What can be done, in your opinion, at this juncture now that we'll be returning after the COVID lockdown?
Well, as Amity, you have been doing the great work, so I would simply compliment it. And I have been to 2 campuses at least, and looking for going to other campuses in the future. So I was highly impressed. But in general, I would say that whenever we read in the newspapers, or my organization itself has done a research. In fact, a research has been done by a friendly organization, but my organization was also connected with it. So that is an IT company who did the research for India Children Protection Fund, and it had a revealing, I would say, challenging or shameful conclusion. Not even conclusion, but that is the first finding. And it says that within 2 days of the first lockdown, the uses of online child porn material or child sexual abuse material has gone double. Within few days, the demand for child porn or child sexual abuse material has gone double.
That's
and
a major
that means that's a major thing, and that means one has to teach. The government has to ensure that our children should be taught morality and ethics and education and the values which are needed. You might be reading that some boys have created this chat room or some lock room, what they call the boys lock room, and these things have to be stopped, not only through legal actions or deterrent actions are not going to solve the problem forever. So these problems should be solved through education, and the positive masculinity has to be taught to the children, to the boys especially, so that they should learn how to behave with their sisters.
The point is well taken, Nobel laureate sir. We need to create much bigger space in our curriculum as well as in the corridors of our university campuses so that we are able to nurture the dimension of personal integrity, professional morality, and submission to the cause of purity of mind, which is absolutely essential to ensure that the community as a whole imbibes those universal values for which the humanity stands for. There are a lot of questions coming, in fact, to me from the audience. And one of the brilliant questions which is being asked by my own director of Amethi Law School, Haryana. He is of the opinion that different laws have different age for child. And do we need to go now very seriously looking into the laws relating to child rights and child development and devise, in fact, in a systematic manner, the laws which will serve the purpose of your mission for which you have fought for whole life?
The answer lies in the question itself, that there is some problem with the laws, or I would say some discrepancies. So these discrepancies have to be resolved with the universal, agreed principle of the child's age, and that is 18 years. So the 18 years of age should be a kind of homogeneous age for all laws related to child rights.
You are very, very right on that. Another question, very quick one, which is coming from Mr. Balakrishnan, which says that 42% children from the marginalized community are underweight at the moment. And therefore, creating a compassionate humanity would require a strategic intervention and actions with conviction to really ensure that these marginalized children see the light of the day. What you have to say, sir, on any concrete?
India has made a lot of progress over the years, and now the way the governments are reacting to address the problem of this coronavirus are really commendable. All the efforts made by the state governments as well as by the central government. So, having said that, I would still feel that since the children are not our future, they are our present. And if we have to protect our present and future, then we have to invest on children. And the investment on our children has been not adequate. So adequate budgetary allocations have to be made for children's well-being, and more importantly, the nutrition, healthcare, and education. They should be the key in the future. But I'm afraid that, and that's why I was warning, that the priorities would be different, not only in India, but globally. And in that situation, we have to think of the last person of society, as Gandhi said in his Talisman, that all the policies and all the programs and budgets have to be allocated, keeping in mind that how the poorest of the poor is helped, and the smile appears on her or his face.
There are lots of questions, including one from your classmate, Om Prakash Srivastava, who want the United Nations Global Connect program to be enforced with laws and rules and regulations. And the last one more question I will take, and this is from Mr. Dhruvashish Sarkar, who says that in your opinion, what role government and technology should play for protection of child rights in a country like India, where we are highly vulnerable, especially in the marginalized section of our community. A very quick one before I request my Honorable Chancellor to give his closing remarks and also his words of wisdom. Kindly, please.
Well, the whole purpose, the very purpose behind the formation of United Nations was that intersectionality and connection between the intersectionality, as well as a collective way of problem solving, collective way of saving the humanity, and bringing equality, human rights, and justice together for all. So the Universal Declaration of Human Rights were based on that, and the responsible agency is the United Nations and its bodies.
I think this is the right time for India to revisit its laws and its rules and regulations relating to the protection of child rights and, in general, the well-being of the people.
Yeah, now the biggest challenge is that how to protect the country, how to protect the economy, and when we are reshaping our economic priorities, as I said before, the last person of society, and that is the child who is facing the problem somewhere sitting in the remotest part of Odisha or Jharkhand or somewhere in northeastern state, has to be kept in mind. And the final answer to to the last question, is that when we talk of technology, I always call for a compassionate technology. So technology should be the problem solver of sufferings for the last person of society, the children, the women, the marginalized, the vulnerable sections of society. Technology can be not only a help, but a leader and a problem solver. Instead of technology remains in the hands of the market tycoons and industrialists, and they make use or maximize their profit through technology, rather than technology reaches out to the poorest of the poor.
Very rightly said, sir. The spiritual power of science and the human face of technology need to be brought at the forefront of our strategy now that we unlock the COVID lockdown in the next few days, I hope, and create a compassionate world for the well-being and welfare of the humanity. We have discovered during this lockdown the value of life and well.
Sharmaji, you might be on mute.
Your mic has gone on mute.
Please unmute
Sir.
your.
Okay. Honorable Chancellor, sir, may I take this opportunity to invite you to give your closing remarks at this important juncture when we are looking ahead to create a compassionate humanity and cause the necessary interventions from the education as well as in all sectors of the economy. Honorable Chancellor Dr. Aseem Chauhanji, sir.
Professor Sharma,
Before I say a few closing words, I will request our Honorable Founder President, as we had said at the beginning, that we wanted to first hear the Honorable Nobel Laureate, and now we will ask him to share his words of wisdom, please.
It's a great privilege to have Honorable Founder President, sir. Honorable Founder President, sir, your words of wisdom at this very important moment, time. Honorable Founder President,
Honorable
Dr.
Kalyani,
sir.
each word of you was going deep in the bones of every participating person of this very valuable webinar. It will change the life of many, many of us, because what you taught, a person would become much more valuable, much more humane, or all what you told. I will start practicing right today. When I get up from here, passing through the kitchen, I will tell to my cook, I'm grateful to you. When I will face the cleaning persons, I will tell, grateful to you, because this never comes to the mind of ours in the days hectic. And I think this, not only this, all other points, how to have, how to be compassionate and all, is a learning for us. And I was thinking that the God has sent you on the earth as his ambassador. And when I came to know that in 1980, you left the profession of electrical engineer and started Bachpan Bachao Andolan, sometime I will not take the time of all. I would like to know what triggered in your mind, or maybe shortly you can tell that you totally changed your life circle, and today what you are there, this is God-given gift. I would like to tell Dr. B.B. Sharma that one thing I missed today, 5-10 minutes, I would have liked to show his film, which is such a not only important but mind and soul searching film. And I think by next opportunity, we would like to see that film. I have seen this total film virtually, physically in our campus, Moot Court Hall, with 1,500 students and faculty members. Sir, Kailash Sai Bhai, many times the attack on your life was made. And with which bravery and which courage you could still fight with the mob which were trying to kill you. It was really something amazing. and seeing the children which you saved. I think all those who are listening this should find time. This film must be on the YouTube. It is worth seeing, and you would then see how our brother Kailash Sathi is helping the whole world to help these children about whom very few people on this earth are thinking. Once again, Kailash Satyarthi ji, for your presence. Dr. P.V. Sharma, I know now today why you are so good. You are also from Vidisha, the land, the earth, the air, where our honorable Kailash Satyarthi ji is born, his native place. So I think naturally you have to be also good. Also, thank you, Dr. P.V. Sharma, and thank to our Chancellor, Dr. Atul Chauhan ji, because it is webinar and all his brainchild, and we all are benefiting from it. Thank you to everybody. Dr. Soti, please follow with Dr. P.V. Sharma that sometime we will arrange the whole film transmit, and I'll personally sit again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Honorable Founder President, sir. It's such a great privilege and honor to hear your words of wisdom on this very momentous occasion when we have the privilege of hearing Nobel laureate, sir, and also focusing our attention to what can be done within the campuses and corridors of the university to create a compassionate humanity and to imbibe those universal values which not only will put India in good state but move the mountains for the whole of the humanity. At this critical juncture, when we are rediscovering the meaning and purpose of life and charting out ways by which we are able to go to the last man in our society, it's very important for us to rediscover the value and worth of education for our people. Education is empowerment to create such a society of our dream, and I would request our Honorable Chancellor, sir, to say a few words in the honor of Sri Kailash Satyarthi ji, and also enlighten us on his vision of creating a compassionate world from strategic interventions and initiatives in the campuses of universities, not only just in Amethi, but in universities throughout India and also abroad. Honorable Chancellor Dr. Srim Chauhan ji, sir.
Thank you, Professor Sharma. Shri Kailash Satyarthi ji, whenever I meet you, I see you, I hear you. I think that when God has a mission, God has a plan, He picks some people through whom to implement, through whom to change society and the world. And everything you stand for, every action that you take, everything that you have done in your life is all a manifestation of that, how to make the world better, how to help the underprivileged, the downtrodden. Truly, you are what can be called a farishta on earth, and we are so proud to have you as a representative and ambassador of the whole nation in the world to show what Indians can do and where the heart of Indians lies. Sir, as our founder president mentioned, our association, the family is with you for decades. And through the center that has been established at Amity University, Haryana, Shri Kailash Satyarthi Center for Child Rights and Development, I can assure you and commit to you that for hundreds of years, your ideology, your mission, and your thoughts will be propagated to every corner of the world, will be shared with students in diploma programs, certification programs, training programs, in outreach, and in so many other ways in which your team already is helping and guiding. We will be spreading this to all campuses of Amity to take your mission and your ideas forward. We are always grateful to you to have your warmth, your generosity in giving us time and sharing your thought. It is truly motivating. And of course, today we also have another great person online with us, which is our own founder president, Dr. Ashok Chauhan. And Satyarthi ji, I will share with you that in these very difficult times of coronavirus and pandemic globally, our founder president has given a very clear message to all Amethians that be there for other people, that we as an organization have to be an organization of empathy, of compassion, of helping other people. And lakhs of people have been provided food. Donations have been made to the Prime Minister's Fund by Amethians, matched by the founder president. We have been doing free training for healthcare workers in many parts of the country. We are providing our infrastructure for quarantine centers, sir, where people who are affected can be quarantined, and we're working with the government. So many initiatives in science and technology. a number of our people are working on how to through technology solve the problem of coronavirus. So our founder president has given this message that only an organization of empathy can be a good organization. And I think that is your message also. So we are committed to taking forward what you have told us. We learned so much from you. And Professor Sharma, to you, I am grateful for having organized this session. Thousands of people all over the world, from Singapore, I'm getting messages, from Dubai, from the United States, who have listened today. And they are sending messages how inspired they are. So this is the benefit of having someone as esteemed as Sri Kailash Satyarthi online. Sharmaji, we have to now work very hard to show real outcomes through this center that has been kindly established at your university and spread the message through that. With those few words, thank you so much, sir, for being here enlightening all.
I have a question.
So kind of you, Honorable Chancellor Dr. Sim Chauhanji, sir. We are committed with head, heart, and soul to ensure that the empathy and the eternal sense of belongingness with which we connect with each other
Thousands
makes
of
our
people all over the world are invited, and we will find the time and availability of my brother Kailash Satyarthi ji,
sure.
so that he can still the soul of all people from every nation.
Sure.
Is it possible, Asim ji, that we can arrange it at our New York campus?
Certainly, if you are saying, certainly we'll arrange.
Okay.
It would-
Kailash Satyarthi bhai, you will be requested to spare 2-3 days so that we can do it a big conference, because I want that not only in India but all over the world, the
Yes.
message from you is spread, which will make other human beings from other nations also better human beings. And I'm sure that you will accept my such request.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Honorable Founder President, surely we are looking forward to having Nobel laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi ji at our New York campus, so that the message of love, peace, and compassion would be taken at the global level. And India is in the right position to grow this message, because here the meaning of survey is not limited to just humanity. It encompasses the entire creation, all small and mighty creatures included. Entire habitat is included. Therefore, I think this is the right time for taking this message to our New York campus, and I would request Honorable Nobel laureate sir to honor us by his gracious presence at that moment. I have a very difficult task today, sir. There are hundreds of questions which are coming following that the learned address of Sri Kailash Satyarthi ji and your words of wisdom. I would not be able to do justice with this, but if you permit for a few more minutes, I will just read out these questions, and answers to these can be then sent by the Honorable Nobel laureate in writing. Akshay Tiwari is asking us, do you see any rehabilitation program, a center which is working effectively for the addicted children who want to come out of the addiction but not able to do so? Chaitanya Kamakshi is asking why all the children in villages are not as educated as Sri Kailash Satyarthi ji or Professor P.V. Sharma, the children in the urban areas. Sampurna Panikri is asking us, if we look at the cases in India, we find a lot of crime against children. How do we change the mentality and mindset of our people? Also, it's important to teach acceptance of the new generation. What do you have to say about that? Rekha Waghani is asking us, our present education does not focus on imbibing human values and protect and promoting and nurturing compassion, which is very, very important for us. Do you think, sir, that we need to bring drastic changes in our educational pedagogy and philosophy and curriculum? Kavita Thapiyal is asking us why most of us shy away from adhering to compassionate values in our practical life. I can assure you, Kavita ji, that at least the ones who are visible on the screen here, including myself, my founder president, my chancellor, sir, and surely Nobel laureate Kailash Satyarthi ji, we never ever shy away from showing our compassion and care for the humanity at large. And we are committed to this, not just by words, but with conviction, because we are the descendants of that great civilization which has taught us that the whole world is one family, and the interest of man and Mother Nature need to be protected together for the welfare and well-being of one and all. Admiral K.K. Pandey has also asked how to motivate children for studies when they are struggling to eat and live. These are some very hard questions. I know Nobel laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi ji at a time when we are locked down in coronavirus, locked down at the moment and preparing to unlock down, we have to roll out policies and programs for reviving our economy and development in such a manner that no one is left behind. And we need to care for the large humanity that resides in the marginalized sectors of our society and in great distances in the rural areas. And we need to do all this. I want your blessings on this day so that we emerge out victorious in addressing to these burning issues and challenges. And we also need the caring patronage and blessings of our Honorable Founder President and surely our innovative leader, Honorable Chancellor Dr. Aseem Chauhanji, to give us courage and conviction so that we are in a position to create a brightest future for the humanity at large from the campuses of our university. Thank you so much, Honorable Nobel Laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi ji, for your highly valuable time and for your highly inspiring address as part of our Amity Eminent webinar series, which you have inaugurated today. And I also wish to thank our Honorable Founder President, sir, for his words of wisdom and the conviction with which he is guiding the entire Amity family and Amity fraternity to rise to the occasion and scale what is otherwise considered unscalable and make impossible possible, so that India not only emerges as a global knowledge superpower, but leads the world on the path of progress, peace, happiness, and harmony. Sir, thank you very much for your kindness in sparing such a valuable time to be with us for an hour. And I also wish to thank my Honorable Chancellor, Dr. Aseem Chauhanji, for always inspiring us to put our best foot forward for the service of the society and for the service of the humanity. We are deeply committed in our universities, as I said, with the eternal sense of belongingness and with firm commitment and conviction to nurture empathy and the Atmita as the core value of Amity education in our universities as well as in our schools and colleges, which we have plenty within India and abroad. With these words, ladies and gentlemen, may I take immense pleasure in thanking all our viewers from India and abroad who have been connected to this very important webinar lecture delivered by Nobel Laureate Sri Kailash Satyarthi ji. Thank you, and thank you so much once again. Namaskar.